everyone. Why is everyone so quiet?
Uh, we are planning to start by 5, so we are waiting for everyone to join.
Okay, okay. Hello, Abhay. Hello, Abhilash.
Hello, ma'am. Hello.
Good evening.
How are you doing, ma'am? Saviors, the Department of Saviors, and our main aim is to spread the joy of physics, beyond academics, and we do that through lecture and a lot of activities. Shout out to the podcast which released today, so go watch that after this lecture. We've been having lectures yesterday and today. Yesterday was regarding Indian institutions, and today is regarding foreign institutions. These lectures are very important. So I'll just go through the workflow, like show flow. So how we are going to do is each of the speakers will introduce themselves, and they'll go through the college applications, the college, what they do. And after that, we'll be taking up few questions which were there on the Google Forms that we had sent before. After that, we'll be taking those questions which are on the chat box. So you can put your chat box. You can put your questions in the chat box as the lecture, as the talk goes on, and we'll be taking up those towards the end. So have a wonderful evening, and I'll hand it over to Apurva. Apurva? Apurva, are you there?
Can you
Apurva, I think you have a network issue. Is that all right?
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yeah, okay. Sorry about that. Okay. So our first speaker is Aditya Anurag Sane, who is doing his MSc from Leiden University in Netherlands with specialization in soft and biomatter theory. He gave his JG bills and was in the top 20. He has also bagged the first prize for the poster presentation at the International Science Conference held at St. Xavier's in 2019. So, yeah, Aditya, please take over.
Thank you for the introduction. I hope all of you are doing well. And I completed my bachelor's in physics from Xavier's in 2019, so I'm not that old really. I'll share my screen right now. Just a second. So yeah, can you share my screen? Yeah,
we can see.
So yeah, this was me in third year trying to figure out where I wanted to go, what I wanted to do with my master's. And through these steps, I think I did reasonably well for myself. And I'd like to take you through these steps and hope that most of your questions are answered. But before I go into international universities and how to apply for them, I'd like to talk about JG bills because yesterday I realized that a lot of you wanted to do interdisciplinary research, and I don't think this was mentioned yesterday. But JG bills is a great exam to give for Indian universities. It's essentially for TIFR biology, but it is open to all students. So physics, chemistry, maths, biology, all of these students can take this exam. This has sort of a 3-level selection procedure where you first give a written exam, which has basic questions from physics, chemistry, maths, and biology. The biology is basic, and if you get hold of somebody from biology, maybe a friend or something, then you should be doing well enough in your biology section as well. Once you clear the written exam, then there's the proposal, which is essentially you taking a hypothesis and then forming an experiment around that hypothesis to verify it, maybe, or how would you go about verifying whether the hypothesis is true or not. This hypothesis can be from anything, so it doesn't necessarily need to be from biology, but what they want to look at really is how you approach a problem. And once you are done with that, then there are the interviews. And these are interviews that you can take at 4 of the top universities for interdisciplinary research in India. Those are NCBS Bangalore, TIFR Hyderabad, TIFR Mumbai, and ISER Pune. And I'd like to mention that I haven't really been doing biology. The last time I took a biology exam was in class 10th for my boards. And the fact that I made it through to the interviews and even after the interview is proof enough that these interviews and are not biased towards biology, and they do take into consideration that you don't have a biology background. Now that the Indian university is out of the way, I'd like to start with the international universities and the procedure. These are steps that I took, so these may be different from what other people did, but this is what I found was basic and needs to be done. So the first was searching for a university, and this is by far the most time-consuming step of all of these. And the first way that you can do to reduce your time is to filter out universities. And I think the most simplest filtering is through rank. I'm not saying that rank is the most necessary one, but it is definitely the easiest one and speeds along the process. QS rankings are one ranking that you can look to search for where a particular university stands, and there are filters that you can apply on region. So you can say top universities in Europe, US, UK, whatever. And you can also apply filters based on what specific course you're looking for. Now, once you've done that, then you need to look at each of these universities and look for the course that interests you. And I think I should emphasize that you need to look at courses more than the rankings, because after all, once you go to the university, if the subject doesn't interest you, it doesn't matter whether you're at Harvard or not. So be course specific when you're looking for universities. So for example, I was fairly certain that I wanted to do biophysics. So I looked for universities in the top 50 that were offering a good biophysics course. Leiden turned out to be one that had a pretty great course for biophysics. And usually, once you've shortlisted universities, then you can go to their web pages, and they have a very detailed structure on how they take a course, what are the subjects that are offered, the practicals, and everything else. So I think that way, once you have some universities in mind, I think it's easy to just look at the courses that are available. And most of these international universities, what you can do is, if you take a particular course, then you can very well take other courses from different fields, depending on your time. So that doesn't really limit you to what the course you choose. Most of these universities now have a requirement for exams that you need to give before you can apply. To be honest, I didn't really know what exams I had to give, and I gave GRE on a whim because most people were giving it. But for universities in Europe and UK, I don't think GRE is all that necessary, and it is not a compulsory mandatory exam to give for application procedures in these universities in Europe and UK. There are some universities in US that do require a general GRE exam. I'll just take you through some of the steps over here as well. So the GRE exam is based on English and mathematics. The mathematics part is pretty elementary. Most of the stuff you've done before or in your class 10th. So the essence over here is, for mathematics at least, what you need to do is to practice a lot, so that once you during the time of the examination, when you look at a question, you know what you have to do, and that speeds up the process of giving the examination. For English, I think in general GRE, English is the most important, and you need to focus on vocabulary. So there are a lot of different words and things that you don't really use in normal English in India, but are a subject of concern when you give the exam. So for you to increase your vocabulary, I think Magoosh app is a great one, which has flashcards, and you can just scroll through different words and look at their meanings. And over time, you just get used to using those words in your regular vocabulary. For preparation, I would suggest the Manhattan preparation book for GRE. This is, I think, better than ETS, and it helped me a lot because it had very detailed instructions on how you go about each section in the GRE. ETS is the parent organization for GRE and has some papers on it, but I would suggest to really go for Manhattan before ETS. GRE is a pretty expensive exam to give, so I would really look at universities and see whether they require GRE before giving them. Unlike GRE, English proficiency is an exam that you will have to give for applying to a university abroad. There's 3 exams that I know of: IELTS, TOEFL, and one from Cambridge. I give IELTS for no particular reason, but IELTS also is a simple exam if you practice, and I think the British Council workbook that they give along with when you apply for IELTS is a pretty good one, and if you practice that, it is more than enough to comfortably pass that exam. There are four sections to this exam. There's the reading, there's speaking, there's listening, and there's writing. So all of that is covered in the workbook. They also give you a CD for you to practice your listening skills. Now, this is the English proficiency exam. I think one of the main concerns for people applying abroad is funding and how do you fund yourself. So there are a lot of scholarships for you to look into. The ones that I know of and I applied to were INLACS, Tata Endowment, Mahindra, and these are scholarships in India. So INLACS is a pretty prestigious one. Mahindra is a sort of a no interest loan that they give you for studying abroad. There are also university scholarships, and for university scholarships, more often than not, you'll find these scholarships listed on the web page for the university. If not, you can always call them and inquire about whether you have scholarships or not. And these are also based for, say, where you come from, what economic background you're from. So there are even particular scholarships for people from low economic backgrounds as well. This is one site that I also looked at, wemakescholars.com, which also gives you a list of scholarships that based on the level of study you're at. Now, most of these scholarships, the procedure is usually writing a statement of purpose and then an interview prompt. So I'd like to focus on SOPs because you'll be writing a lot of them. And depending on where you want to apply and for what reason you're applying, your SOPs change a bit. So if you're applying for universities, then what your SOP should cover, I think, are your research interests. So what you're interested in, what are the sort of internships or things that you have done in the research field. Then why do these interest you? So your particular motivation to be interested in a certain field. Then if you're applying to a university, then a brief segment on why do you choose that university. And then also sometimes why in particular you fit with the university and the program that you're choosing. Now, this differs if you're applying for a scholarship, where in the statement of purpose, you'll have to mention why you need that scholarship and how you're going to make use of that scholarship if you get that scholarship. So SOPs are pretty important, and I would suggest that you spend some time getting a draft SOP, which then you can change based on where you're applying. That I think is the information that I want to give you. If in particular somebody wants to know about the university I'm studying, the course I'm studying, or in specific details on the exams as well, you can ask me later. And I would be available to answer after the talks are done. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll be moving on to our next speaker. He is Abhilash Chikoti, who is currently in University of Bonn, Germany. And he cleared his exam with the rank of 611. And he has also done a lot of internships in reputed institutes like IISER Pune and JNCASR. So yeah, Abhilash, please take over.
Yeah, thanks for the introduction. Just a minute, I'll share my screen. I'm audible, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, can you see the screen?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, okay. I'll also try to stay as informal as possible, like the first presentation. In a sense, I won't be trying to give you a lot of just factual knowledge, because just having factual knowledge will not really take you much ahead. So I'll just take you informally through the journey that my journey before deciding on a university and then getting into that university. Just to give you a better idea of where I stood or what I am right now. So this is my brief education profile. So I'm from Telangana. Then I went to Bombay to do my BSc, and then after that I got a choice at the University of Bonn. And so right now I'm doing my second year here at the University of Bonn. I started my university hunt sort of almost 1 year before getting an acceptance. So that is around in mid 2018. That was summer vacation, and I was at my internship. And as you also saw in the previous presentation, it is very important to have like long enough search period where you sit down patiently and go through list of universities and filter out those universities that match your profile. So when I say profile, things change from person to person. You maybe are ready to give some standard exams for universities, or if you might not be ready to give standard exams, you might have budget enough to complete some applications, and you might not. So all these considerations you should be generally aware of. And once you are aware of this, then you will be able to create filters for yourself to narrow down hundreds of universities which are available as options. So here are some filters that I have listed down. One could be the country that you're planning to study in. So at least in my situation, I was with the opinion that any country which is safe is okay for me. I didn't have anything special with the country. I just wanted to go into a good institution. So the next important thing would be application expenses. Not every university application is as simple as just applying. Some universities also have application fee where you pay around. This is a common thing in US, where you pay around $70 for the application fee, and then you give some standard exams. So now that also adds up to the application expenses. Then there's also possibility that you need to send your exam results to the university. This also might become expensive. So all these things can also, so therefore application expenses can also be a filter for you to filter out some universities. And the next important thing is course fees. So as you know, Germany has, at least some universities in Germany, they do not take any tuition fees. Now, so whether you can, once you get the admission, whether you can pay the tuition fees of the university, and what are these tuition fees is also an important factor is an important filter. The next one is eligibility. Though you have, so as Aditya previously mentioned, you start with, let's say, QS ranking list, and you say, okay, top 300 or 400 universities are good for me. Then how are you going to, filter these institutes? So eligibility can also be a good filter, because, for example, universities in Australia and many universities in US, they ask for a 16-year education, whereas with a BSc in India, we have only 15 years education profile. So we might not be eligible for such programs. And the last thing, which was not so important in my case, because I was ready to do either general masters or a specific masters. I was okay with or general masters or more towards biophysics. So field of interest was not an important factor for me while filtering out institutions. So as you can relatively see on the screen, the search period for me was around 2 months. So you need not to strictly keep search period to 2 months. You can stay open, and whenever you hear a new recommendation from someone, you can searching for it. But ideally, you should have this predefined period where you sit down patiently and make a list of universities that you can apply to. Next, going ahead, next comes, once you have everything scheduled, so you can sort of make a calendar with all the deadlines of the universities that you have sorted out. the applications generally open in December, somewhere between December and February, and they generally any university has an application period of 2 months average. So this is how ideally your application procedure should be going. So if you plan it properly, then you'll have 2 months of time to finish the application. And this period between search period and the application period will also be useful for you to schedule your competition standard exams if you decide to give them. For example, GRE, TOEFL, and GRE subject test. So you have 3 of them, and you can't give them immediately one after another. You need some time to prepare as well. So by planning it this way, you will have almost span of 6 months to schedule these exams and prepare for them and give your best, do your best with the examinations. So in this application period, so as soon as the app opens, you check the app. Only when you check the app, you will know completely what are the things that you need to satisfy to complete this application. Because some universities just ask you for statement of purpose, but some universities have more questions. They want to know more from you before giving you an opportunity. They might ask you about your research, research experiences. They might ask you research experience. They might ask you about your research interests. They also ask you sometimes about. Now adding to this, if you're also applying for a scholarship in that particular university, then you'll have additional questions to fill. So to do all this, it is better to start as early as possible, as soon as the application opens. Then you have you will prepare your statement of purpose. You will sit maybe a day or two to finish it. So taking enough time in these 2 months will help you make a best application. And it is also important to revise your statement of purpose, which you will be able to do if you give enough time. For example, you have prepared one statement of purpose. You have worked with it so long that you just cannot identify any mistakes in it. This is a very general thing which happens. So leaving it for some time, maybe for 10 days, 15 days, and then going back to it will give you a fresh perspective. And then when you revisit your SOP, you will be able to see things that you didn't see before, and you'll be able to make a better version of it. And also, it is very important that you give your guide, whoever the person whom you are approaching for the LORs, enough time to prepare your letter of recommendation. You can't be like, you go today and ask them for an LOR tomorrow. So it's also important to request the person and give them enough time for them to submit the letter of recommendations. So for master's programs, mostly the letter of recommendations, they go via email addresses. So that means you just take the mail address of the person and then you fill it in your application. So the university directly approaches the person for the letter of recommendation. Now, the planning need not always be like a long period ones. For example, now this is a really long planning, but it is also important to plan very simple things which are short span. For example, it is very important, as Aditya mentioned, to plan your exam with proper material. I gave TOEFL in January, and I knew that, so all the information is available on the website, and I knew that I might have some problem with speaking, which I generally do. So I planned my speaking section properly. Similarly, you can plan all these sections. So speaking, I know, has 4 tasks, and each task I have to speak for less than 1 minute, and I'll be given like around 15 seconds to prepare for my task. So now, if I am completely aware of how this task is going to be there, then what I did back then was, so few days before the exam, I calibrated myself about how many thoughts and ideas I can put into a 1 minute speech. Then depending on that, during the exam, I only scribbled 4 to 5 points because I can't put too much in my speech. And just now when the timer starts, your job is only to read out those points, just like how I am doing on this presentation right now. So when you plan things, then you'll be able to give your best. So because Aditya already spoke about how generally things work, let's say that you have the acceptance letter, or let's say you're somewhere in the process and you want to check the funding opportunities. So these are some funding opportunities that I considered during my process. The first things are obviously scholarships from India. The first 2, as you can see, are loans. That means they will support you, but you will have to repay them. And the first two, they are endowments in the sense they are interest free, so you need not to pay any interest. You only need to pay back the loan. And the third one is in Lakshavadasana Scholarship, which someone from our college got it a year before. Arjuna Shoka got it, who was our senior. For anything, for such a scholarship, it is important that you need to have excellent profile. That could be in terms of your GPA, that could be in terms of your experience, that could be in terms of what projects you have worked before. So only when you have an excellent profile, then there's a possibility that you can move ahead in this application process for these scholarships. I didn't make it even to a second round of any of these scholarships. But as I got it in Germany, where there were no tuition fees, and the only thing that I had were my expenses. I considered loans also. The first thing I had know many friends or many friends who took HDFC loan. But you need to loan is not just your burden, right? It's burden of your family. So you need to consider that option with your family members. Next, if nothing works, like which happened in my case, I couldn't even get the loan because I didn't have enough time to complete the process for loan. So my family in the end, decided to support me. So my whole first year, I lived with funds from my family. But by the time of second year, I managed to find a job. So right now I have a job and I get paid enough so that I can support myself here. But now still again, it's not a simple thing to fund oneself for 1 year in a foreign country. So those are things that you need to consider. So yeah, I'll come to the last section of the presentation, takeaways. I gave the statement, which is a famous thought saying that there's no writing, there's only great rewriting. To encourage you to work with your statement of purposes and other essays, it's okay to read so many SOPs first to get an idea of what to construct, what to write in your SOP. You can read many and take different elements from different SOPs, but just make sure that what you're filling in with those elements is your own content, is something that you want to talk about yourself. The next one is, so this thing I say is to keep in contact, to have a good circle amongst your batchmates, because who knows better about opportunities available other than a person who is also exactly in your position. Only they know it better, right, about what are the available opportunities. So in your batch, whoever are, find friends who are also looking at similar opportunities and be in contact with them, discuss with them. That will be really helpful. And this one I say it because I had access to the questions that came from students in the Google Forms, and it felt, I had a feeling that they're not really using the internet properly enough, because every question that comes to your mind, I'm sure was already answered by someone, and it's available somewhere on the internet for you to find. So use internet more efficiently, and you will find many answers there anyway. And though I'm talking a lot about how you need to use internet, it might happen that you may not find the exact thing that you're searching for even after searching for one whole year. Because in my case itself, though I searched for universities for one whole year, I didn't find the University of Bonn until a friend pointed it to me. So that might happen, but still, just be hopeful. Next, be flexible with your plans. Though you plan everything, things might not work the way you expect them to be. So try to be more flexible. And the final thing that I would try to recommend, which I have which I sort of learned from people, particularly my juniors right now, who are forced to take a break here because of the pandemic. And it's not a really big deal. It's not as bad as you think it is, taking a break. If nothing works out for you the way you expected them to, then it's okay to take a break. And with these takeaway points, I'll end this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Abhilash. Hi, am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
Okay, so our next speaker is Prachi Nagpal, who is doing her MSc from Heidelberg University in Germany. She has worked on United Nations goals.
Apurva, I think we lost your audio.
I really hate my internet connection here.
Okay. So I
You
can
take
continue
over.
like that. Yeah. Thanks, Apurva, and thanks for having us, you guys. It's nice to be around. My name is Prachi, and I will share my presentation. Okay. So, yes, as she said, I am affiliated to the University of Heidelberg, which is in Germany right now. It's the oldest German university you can find. And Abhilash and Aditya covered the stuff really well. I guess I'll pitch in my own experience and tell you, because the fact is that I started my education, my master's, during the pandemic actually. So I think some of the things that I went through, you'll probably have to go through the same, because the pandemic is still on and the restrictions are still there. So I hope some part of it helps you out. I graduated with Aditya, Abhay, all of the guys are from the same batch, 2019. So a few general questions which I'd like to answer are basically these. So when did I apply? Third year at the end, basically in December, from October to December is basically the standard period when applications are open for most universities. But this period also differs from university to university, continent to continent. So in December, I was thinking about applying. Many people had already, like my peers had already taken exams like GRE and stuff like that, and they were going through the applications, and I was like, I'm not too sure if I want to apply now, because I was a little underconfident and a little unsure about what I want to do. So one thing was sorted in my head, that I wanted to pursue my master's in physics, but from where and what specialization and what requirements I'll have to sort of fulfill, that was a little unsure. So I did not apply till late April. So if even you are unsure, and if even you want to take your time, I think it's okay to take your time, because, and the thing is that I did not even miss a semester, because there are certain universities whose apps are open till end of May and even late June. But I'm not saying that you should wait. I'm just saying that if you want to take time, there are certain opportunities available even till say April, May max. Because for Heidelberg, I submitted my application mid-May. There were 3 universities I applied to. One was Technical University of Munich in Germany, one was Heidelberg, obviously, and the third was University of Cologne in Germany. Germany was my option because of almost less or no tuition fee, and that was a priority because I wanted to take it easy on the money end. Now, which universities did I consider? I said why? Because because I applied a little late, so I had limited number of options. Usually when people apply by December, they are sort of applying for next winter or fall, as you say in America. And when I applied in May, I was also applying for winter. Heidelberg University, for some reason, opens its applications are open till May, and you can sort of bag admission for the winter semester. That's what happened. So I would like to tell you, first of all, about what were the eligibility criteria and what documents I sort of require, and if I had to appear for any exams. Firstly, for Technical University of Munich, it is a very reputable university, and it's a little difficult to get in there because the kind of courses that they require from your bachelor's are sometimes you don't have those subjects, and that's what happened. I received a rejection from TUM because they said certain number of courses you've not studied them, so it does not fulfill our criteria. But that's okay, that you can check about universities. Another important thing about TUM was that they required a VPD. VPD is verification of your documents. So, and I've observed this for quite a few number of German universities. They require a VPD, which is a third-party verification of your documents. And since nobody covered it, I think it would be better to do it. So German universities sometimes ask a third party, the third party I know is UniAssist. What you have to do is, as a student, is you have to send your documents to UniAssist and they verify it for the university, and then your procedure starts at German universities. And that's for a few German universities, and you'll get to know about this on the website of that university that you want to apply in. And since this third-party verification takes a little bit of time, sometimes 2 months, sometimes max 20 days, so it's nice to, if such a verification, if you're targeting Germany and a certain university, then it's nice to do this part really soon or timely. For TUM, that's it. A VPD was required and transcripts. Sometimes it so happens that you have to post your documents, and that happened to me, but I applied 2 years back. Germany, for both TUM and Heidelberg, I had to post my documents. So the certified transcripts, I had to post them. So even that takes sometimes 5 days. So you have to do that also timely and not wait for the deadline. That would be nice. For Heidelberg, another thing was, in addition to sending documents over, was a telephonic interview. And after, as I said, that I applied in May, I received an email that my interview was scheduled for September 17th. And that was a telephonic interview, so I had a limited number of time to prepare for it as if I wanted. And another thing for eligibility was English proficiency tests like IELTS and TOEFL that the university required. Another thing, important thing is, nowadays some universities, what they do is they sort of are fine with you providing them a certificate from your university, like older universities, Xavier, for example, that you have completed your education, like the bachelor's in English. So your course was English taught, and they accept certain such certifications, and that makes you save your money on IELTS. So if you're not willing to, IELTS is okay, but since you're progressing, I think these days you can easily provide them that certification that you're already conversing in English, and English is fine with you. You're fine with English. So that saves you on IELTS, the time and the money, all of that. But these guys told you pretty well that British Council, the website is pretty amazing to, get tips on IELTS, and it's nice to prepare from there. What else? So how am I funding my education abroad? Now, it's important to tell you that when I got my so my telephonic interview was in September 2019, and on that very day, they told me that I backed admission and I can start my course on 15th of October. So mid-October they start. So that was not much of a time for me to sort of apply for a visa, because German visas, at least here in Delhi, the appointments are booked for like 3 months, 4 months. And it so happened that I could not get an appointment even through agents or contacting the embassy. It was just not happening. So, I talked to my dean, and it so happened that he knew that this thing happens in countries like this. So they deferred admission for me, and which was very nice, because I also got the time to sort of prepare for moving from country to country, right? So I deferred my admission to summer of 2020. So, and that started in April. I was supposed to fly, but the lockdown happened in India and I was not able to fly. So, but I started my course because everyone was starting remotely, and I had a few Indian friends just like me who were starting their studies in April, and we all got stuck here. We couldn't fly. So we started it, and it was decently nice because even German students were doing it remotely. So you don't have to worry if in the coming year, in this year, it so happens that you get an admit, but your university starts remotely. And if at least my course is a two-year course. So I did not have to worry too much about, not being able to go there and, being here and completing my course like this, because it's a long course. But if you're applying for a 1-year course, you might have to think or something like that. So yeah, I moved. I haven't moved there yet because in that period my visa got expired. I had to apply for it, but that's another thing. What else? So another thing about funding is that when I started my course, there was this opportunity for me for international students in Heidelberg University, and such scholarships or funding programs exist in every university, more or less. So what happened was there was a tuition fee waiver for international students, which I applied for, and I got that. So my tuition fee was waived completely for the whole of my course, which was helpful because even so German universities more or less have less tuition or no tuition. My university had less tuition, which is about 115 euros per semester. But even getting that waived is sort of nice for me because it makes it easy. So I got that, and there are even during the course there are scholarship or funding opportunities like which you can apply. You don't have to worry about it that, oh, I've started my course, so I can't, apply for a scholarship anymore. During the course also you get the opportunity every semester, even in the last semester you have the opportunity to get scholarships. A little just summing up, pro tips from my side would be that please check the university's website, the official website, and I don't think for the eligibility criteria and stuff like that. And you can reach out to them. They have their email IDs written on their website. You can browse. These websites are updated regularly. So, and you will get a reply soon enough. So that would be my first tip. And another tip for Germany specifically would be, I found this Facebook page really helpful, which is Bharat in Germany. It's an Indian people's group. Bharat is this Indian guy in Germany who's been there for about 8 to 10 years. And this is the whole of Germany. You can find students, families, children applying, students applying, and you can talk about funds or education, jobs, everything on that group. And I found decently good contacts there, hence my suggestion. Another thing last would be to check your visa properly, as in apply for it timely. And if in case you're situated anywhere near Delhi, then I would highly recommend you to apply for it timely, because Delhi in particular and Mumbai, actually I have a friend in Bombay who's been stuck and has not been able to get his visa on time. So for these major cities, I think applying for visa timely would be a very nice thing. That is it. And if you want to reach me, here is my email ID. You can reach me at this email ID. And yeah, I'm free for questions in the end. Thank you.
Thank you, Prachi. So our last speaker is Abhay Mehta, who is doing his MSc from University of Bonn with specialization in experimental particle physics. He has received a full scholarship with stipend to do his master's, and he even presented a poster titled Mars Radius Relation for Exoplanets at the 36th annual meeting of Astronomical Society of India. So please, Abhay Mehta, take the stage.
Thank you. I'll share my screen. So, okay, can you see my screen? Yep, I think so. So, okay, so hi, I'm Abhay. I'm studying at the University of Bonn, and I graduated in 2019. So I'll just be giving a brief overall idea of what the MSc Applications process and what do you need to do and what the process is. So all the previous presentations have pretty much covered the details. I'll just give you an overall picture that is probably helpful. So people usually ask about what the important aspects of an application is. So an important thing to know is that all applications are reviewed holistically. So it's not one particular thing that is given extra importance. It's what's your entire application as a whole. So one of the things that is certainly most important are your grades. So grades are certainly important and you should not sacrifice them. But on the other hand, you should not go too crazy about them either. So as long as you have decent or good grades, it's fine. It's not necessary that you strive for the perfect grades and sacrifice everything else in return. The other thing which I think is particularly useful is having research internships or projects. There are some excellent opportunities such as the National Initiative on Undergraduate Science, the Indian Academies of Sciences Summer Research Fellowship, TIFR Visiting Student Research Program. All the ICERs have their own summer internships, JNC, SR, and more. It's really helpful if you do an internship because it gives you first-hand experience of what it is to actually do some research, even if it's only for like 2 months. And it also helps you establish a contact with a professor who has been involved in that field for a certain amount of time. Other than that, unofficial opportunities always exist. So you can just email people sincerely, asking them for opportunities if they have anything in their group that they need undergraduate students to work on. Usually people don't respond very easily. So it's quite okay if we send like 30 emails and only 2 people respond. That is still a huge success. The third thing which I feel is particularly important, I mean, it's not important, it is important, but you should still consider it, are co-curricular activities. So activities such as poster presentations, talks, attending conferences and publications, they're all count positively on your applications. And a great thing about this is that all such opportunities exist within Xavier itself. So all your lab projects, all your presentations during your posters, your probe, and every opportunity you get, you should take them seriously because it really helps you in the long run. To give an idea of what the application process timeline is, people have already covered this, so I'll just go over this briefly. Ideally, what you want is you should be prepared to submit applications in the early half of your 6th semester. So that is November to December, because this is the earliest of when this is the earliest deadlines that are possible. So most of the earliest deadlines would be from the US or Europe, and some deadlines may extend into the next year of, say, up till May, as Prachi earlier talked about. So the ideal time to start is near the end of your 2nd year. So around Sem 4, you can start looking at universities and all that. So the process is something like you shortlist courses, programs, universities of interest, as people have said. Then you check the eligibility requirements. This is very important because you don't want to go through all the steps and then in the end you get an email saying, oh, you are not eligible for this program or your degree is not eligible. So be sure to check the eligibility requirements. Third, prepare and complete the testing requirements such as GRE, IELTS, or TOEFL. Fourth, you should draft a statement of purpose and a CV. A CV isn't always required, but they might ask for it sometime, and so you should keep it in handy. Fifth, request 2 to 3 letters of recommendations. As Abhilash said, keep a healthy amount of time when you ask your professors or your teachers for recommendations. So at least a month or 2 in advance. So it helps them. It also gives them time to prepare the letter as well. And the last step is definitely just apply. Do apply. Don't hesitate. Just go for it. So to compare the application processes both in the US, the UK, and the EU. So there are different requirements, and so you should sort of choose your where you want to apply carefully. So in the US, you are generally required to give the GRE and the TOEFL exam. The GRE is usually compulsory in most cases, and some institutions might also ask you for the GRE physics exam. And almost all institutions require a language certificate, which is usually required in the form of a TOEFL exam. In the UK and the US, they usually prefer the IELTS exam. So one advantage of IELTS over TOEFL is that when it is possible to send the IELTS score reports by your own self rather than having it sent through the testing service. So if you send it through the testing service, it costs money, it's like $10 or $25, something like that. So it saves money if you give the IELTS. And as Abhilash also said, in the US, application costs are pretty high. It's like 86,000 to 8,000 rupees per application. So these, if you apply to like 5 universities, that's like 30,000 rupees on its own. So these costs add up, and you should consider them. Meanwhile, in the UK and the Europe, they're pretty cheap. And as far as I remember, in all my applications in Europe, I did not have to pay at any point of time for applying, at least. The third thing is that if you consider selectivity after a 3-year bachelor's program such as ours, so if you apply to say a graduate program in the US, which is usually a 5-year PhD program, your competition is very high. So I mean, not only are you competing with, say, other people who apply after a bachelor's, you're competing with people who have done a master's, people who have done a 5-year BS/MS degree, and people who go abroad and then do a master's and then apply again, or people who just take a break and then apply. So the competition is very high and intense, and the slots and the places are very few. So if you are applying there, you need to either be really good or just be really lucky or something. But you really need to consider that when you apply, because not only is it expensive, it's also very selective. Meanwhile, in the UK and the Europe, it's I wouldn't say it's easy, but
did get a tuition fee waiver from physics, which reduced my tuition fee considerably. So university scholarships are plenty and you need to ask for them and see whether they're available to you or not.
Thank you. Okay, so there was this very specific question about the Erasmus Mundus MSc program. I don't think I'm pronouncing it right, but I think someone has just put it in the chat box also. Like, so they wanted to know about the Erasmus Mundus.
I think as far as I know, the Erasmus program for physics, or astrophysics, which existed up to 3 or 4 years ago, that is no longer happening. But if it changes, you need to apply through the specific Erasmus website. Yeah, but the Erasmus Scholarship is a pretty extensive program, but the only problem is that you literally move every semester. You start in one country, in one city, and then next semester you have to keep moving. And for some people, if they like stability, you don't have that. So stuff like that, yeah.
I think for the Erasmus program, you're supposed to enroll yourself in a university abroad, and that university gives you a Erasmus semester. If you're supposed to, if you have the certain GPA or whatever you call it, then you can sort of do a semester abroad from that university.
That's a little different. I mean, that's
the Erasmus program, at least my university gives.
Right. But yeah, this is like the Erasmus Mundus program, so where you just move along the universities, where you just do that program.
So you don't need any particular university that you're affiliated to.
You are affiliated to 4 universities.
Per semester. Yes, that's different.
Okay, so the next question was that many universities ask for 4 years of BSc, and in India we have like 3 years course. So like, how does one go along with that?
So I'll just add, so the easiest way to go about this is just look at the universities your seniors have gone into, because if they have gone there, I mean, it's pretty much clear that those universities accept them. Other than that, if you feel, you should just write to the university and ask them if your 3-year bachelor suffices, and they will let you know. If anyone else wants to add something.
More often than not, it's already written on the website, but yeah, you can obviously ask.
Yeah, so the next one is about the language. So if one applies to a German university, would language be a barrier here?
I think all our courses are English taught. So we actually took English taught courses, and Germany has quite many universities which give English taught master courses, at least in physics. And about sort of other stuff, I mean, outside of your academia, if you want to see how you can sort of survive here without the language or with the language, I think it's obviously better to learn a little bit of German. But if you want to do it via attending like a course in India or not, or via YouTube videos, I attended YouTube videos. I think Abhay joined an institute. Depends on how much time you have maybe before joining the university. Yeah, it's on you. Maybe Abhilash has something to add.
Well, what I have to add is I still have no German knowledge in the sense. I only can sort of recognize some vegetables, I guess, nothing more than that. People are helpful, so people understand you. They sort of got used to, German people sort of got used to the concept of international students and coming to their country and having trouble in English, so they are helpful. So I don't think that is just a barrier at all, at least not in 2021.
True, and even in the university, I mean, everyone just speaks English, so that's not a problem. But for your own work, if you want to socialize more, I mean, it's useful if you know some German. So, next question.
Yes. Yeah. So the next one is that would it be a wrong decision to go from BTech to MSc?
I think this was covered yesterday. Yeah, even I have some peers who did a BTech and now doing an MSc here. So, I mean, there would obviously be some differences in the courses they took, but it's not a wrong decision by any means.
If you ask me, it's same like starting in physics and then thinking of going into biology. It's same. It's just you're switching a field, and yeah.
I mean, physics is and biology are not as similar as physics and engineering, but okay. I mean, so I'll just see some questions in the chat, so I'll just answer them. So one of the first question was apply for PhD first, do an MSc from India and then do a PhD, or should you go abroad from MSc yourself? So again, that really depends on you. What I feel is, so at least as far as Europe is concerned, it is definitely more useful if you do an MSc here, because then you're already sort of inside the system here, and people will be more familiar with the work you're doing, and sometimes even with the professor who you're working with. So it's sort of easier to already move about for a PhD in a system you're already in than coming in from India. So if you have the opportunity, then you should try from a master's perspective point of view itself. But again, if you do not, then it's really about the quality of the work you do, and there are plenty of people who do an MSc in India and then come for a PhD. Does anyone else want to add?
No, I think you already answered that question.
So another question is it worth taking counseling? Personally, I don't feel so, but
I don't feel so either.
Yeah,
I think most of the information is available on the net and it's free.
So and it's a matter of sorry to interrupt there. It's a matter of, I think, time you have. If you didn't start searching for university and everything, as we suggested, like at the end of second year, you suddenly at the end of your third year or somewhere, you realize you want to go abroad suddenly, and you want to do it next year itself, then obviously you go to counseling where they have ready information for you.
I think sometimes IDP doesn't even charge. So such education consultancies are affiliated to universities abroad, and they don't charge students per se. They get their funds from the university because they're sort of promoting those. So just in case you're worried about that, you want to seek help from such consultancies, but you're worried about spending money, you can find that they in fact don't require any fees from your side. Just an added point.
True, but I'll just add a warning at that point. Just don't go to the university they're offering on the first chance, because that might not be a very good university. So just be wary.
Yeah.
Okay. So another question is: does only the European universities provide full scholarship, or with zero or minimum tuition fee, or do US universities also have such facilities? So in the US, the PhD programs are fully funded, but as I said, they are extremely competitive. And in Europe, again, not all universities have zero or minimum tuition fee, and not all universities have full scholarship opportunities. So you should really look at the university. So, yeah. Anyone else want to say something?
I do think that there are a lot of scholarships available. So more often than not, you'll find a university where they offer scholarships. So it's not really a thing to be bogged down by that you won't get a scholarship, because there are a lot available if you look for them.
So one question is, can the speakers talk a bit more about their profile with regards to internships and extracurricular activities? So we can go one by one. Abhilash, if you want to start.
Oh yeah, okay. So I did 2 internships, one after my second year and then another after my third year. The first one was in ISA Pune under Professor Ogle, and it turned out to be a research project because during the internship fell during summer vacation, and it so happened that the group that I'm working with, most of the postdocs who can take me under them, they were also enjoying their vacation, and that turned out to be a just reading project. Then the second internship I did it in JNCSR, which is in Bangalore. And both the internships were funded. The first one at ISA Pune, it was from Indian Association of Sciences, and the second one JNCSR is I applied to JNCSR directly, and it was under it was in bio. So JNCSR has this what do you call it? They don't have a physics department, but they have other department. They are more towards chemistry, biology, and less towards physics. That was my internship after my third year after BSc. Yeah, over to you, Aditya.
So I did an internship at ISA Kolkata at the end of the second year, I think. That was from one of the ISA portals, and I did an internship in a biology lab, but they were looking at movements of a cell. So just to say, just like Abhilash did his internship in an institute which was more focused towards bio and chemistry, but they are still in requirement of physicists, and the field is actually exploding in terms of biophysics. So I did an internship in a bio lab that was looking at cell movement and adhesion. So that required a lot of physics also. I also worked in a lab at NCBS, which looked at insect flight and how we could engineer stuff to look at insect flight and mimic most of it. That's it.
Okay, so maybe I can share mine. During my bachelor's, I didn't do any, say, physics-related internship. Maybe I think so. But during my second year, I think Apurva mentioned it. I did a 10-day UN sustainable sort of. It was, I don't know if many of you are aware of Makers Asylum in Mumbai. Now it's shifted to Goa, but they have a really nice stuff happening there. But it was completely unrelated. It had to do with 3D printing and laser cutting and prototyping. But that was my personal interest at that time. And later, after I think my third year, when I had a little, it was a 1.5 month summer course at ICTS Bangalore. And it was like, there were like twice a week classes during that time. And so I did that. It was in astronomy. There was this retired professor who was teaching us. It was really nice. And during that time, I approached a researcher at ICTS itself, and he gave me permission to work in his lab. And I worked on Brownian motion just for a few days. And that was it.
Okay. For me, so after my first year, I did the NIUS program, which I discussed in my slides. So that's a 2-month program. It's only for students who did after the first year of bachelor's. So if anyone is in their first year, they should definitely apply for it. After that, I did a sort of a work from home, sort of 3-month or 4-month internship at TIFR. It was on exoplanets. So that was the poster that I presented. Following that, I applied through the Indian Academy of Sciences, and I got a summer research fellowship to work at the Bhabha Atomic Research Center, where I did a 2-month internship. And so that project was particularly useful. So, and that was the project I presented as part of my presentation for the research profile in my interview for the scholarship. Other than that, since you also asked about extracurricular activities, and this was also a point that was discussed yesterday, doing all of this does not mean that you don't have fun, you don't do extracurricular activities. So in FY, SY, I did Malar, I did JanFest, I did Paradigm and all those activities. I definitely understand that you might not have so many of these activities now because of the pandemic, but you should still not stop. That should still not stop you from having fun. I think all of us can say anything on that.
I think in addition to that, even after you start pursuing your master's, you can sort of invest your time or credits, in fact, in other electives other than just physics or say biophysics. So there are certain number of credits that you have to do outside of your proper course. So you can either learn a language, which will give you credits. You can either invest yourself in other activities. Like I recently put my time in this startup lab sort of thing, which gave me quite a few credits. So you're also gaining credits. You're also sort of engaging in activities that you like apart from that course.
Okay, so one more question seems to be, is mentioning an internship mandatory for a good profile? So for this, I just say that it's not like mentioning an internship, it's about the quality of work that you do, because people won't see that you did an internship, but they would rather see what you did. So it's important to share what you did. And again, it's not necessary that you share what you did in an internship. So for example, as I said in my presentation, you have the opportunity to choose your own projects that you do in your lab courses. So do them well, be thorough on them, write the reports well and all. And those are the things you can share that you worked on your own as a research project. So that still counts. Does anyone else want to say?
No.
Okay.
So there was this question. Yeah. Also, there was this question, like in second year, we have the option of dropping maths as a subject, at least in Xavier's. So like if someone is pursuing MSc physics further, so that would be like some problematic thing.
So I dropped mathematics in my second year. And I would like to also mention that I wanted to pursue biophysics. So I knew that not taking mathematics would not really affect me pursuing biophysics. But if you are thinking of pursuing, say, more mathematically based physics masters, such as astrophysics or theoretical physics, then I would suggest you not dropping mathematics. But if you are looking for interdisciplinary research, then I think you do get all the mathematics you need by second year. Yeah.
There's a question on the chat. How do we get selected for internships? What are the requirements to get selected? Abhilash?
Yeah, I think that's a whole different thing about how to find internships and do. But the process almost is same as how you find a master's program and complete the application and get into a master's. But you just have less number of things when dealing with an internship. I guess the procedure is same. You do a lot of you first filter out all the internships that you want to apply to, then you apply for them again. So in internships particularly, your letter of recommendations way more than any other things. So your letter of recommendations need to be good for getting these internships, which you get from your lecturers.
To add on to that, so as I said in my talk, that not all internships need to be from a formal channel, such as through an application portal. For example, for me, for when I did the TII for internship, I was fortunate because I met that particular professor in a conference, and I just walked up to him and asked him if he has any positions for an undergraduate student. And fortunately, he was also looking for one. So, I mean, emailing professors or meeting them somewhere is also a good idea to get an internship.
So yeah, does anyone else want to add into this?
No.
Yeah. Okay.
I just want to point out a question. Like this is asked very frequently. To study in German universities, do you actually need to attend do you need to complete a German language proficiency test?
No.
For English taught courses, no. So
So even if you are directly applying for a PhD, still you need it? Like, do you need for that too?
I mean, technically, we're not sure because we haven't done it, but I'm pretty sure you do not need to show a language certificate for German for higher education. But I mean, do your own study. As far as we know, we don't know.
Apurva, do we have any other questions in the Google
one
Docs?
question was there. Yeah, so like this is the last question. So there was this question about in MSc, like do the focus is on the research work or like normal theoretical classroom type experience?
I can speak for my course, and I think it's pretty balanced. We have 1 year of courses, 1 year of thesis, but the courses also are structured in a way that it enhances your way of thinking about how you would go about a research. So, of course, there's classroom studies, but at least in Leiden, you'd have it more focused towards how you'd go about thinking about a research project or a research question in the field. And then the thesis is, of course, about research work.
What I want to add to this question is, I did my specialization in optics, and all the courses I took, there was not even, so I took like 3, 4, 5 courses, and no course had like a class without mentioning and research that is happening or experiment that happened in the past few years. So whenever a class is happening and whenever they are teaching you something, because the process themselves are right now in the field, they are aware of research happening or research happened in the past 2 years. And they always cite those examples to give you an idea of what is happening in their field. So I have that to add.
Okay, there's a question that says, does a good rank in JAM, JEST, etc. increase the chances of selection abroad? Abhilash?
I don't think so. Because where do you mention your competition like your ranks? You mention your CV. That's it, I guess.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe you can write it. I mean, as a credential.
Yeah. I think we all did, but now
it won't hurt you, but not necessarily increase the chances either. It won't hurt you for sure.
It won't hurt you, but then again, the application are screened by administration departments of the universities, which may or may not know what JAM or JEST is. So mentioning them won't hurt you, but it won't necessarily increase your chances.
So the point here is when you mention these exams, maybe give a bit more detail in a statement or two saying what is the level of the exam. Like whether it's a national level one, how many people attended it, just a point or two, not too much again.
Another common question which popped into my head was, some of the universities don't require language proficiency if the medium of instruction at the university is English, but then sometimes visa procedures do require. So for in German and Netherlands, do the visa procedures require a IELTS or a TOEFL?
I don't think the visa procedure required. It's the application procedure that required the proficiency test. That you
if it does, so when you apply for a visa, there's this checklist you can find at the Visa Facilitation Center or the embassy website, and there it is written specifically that you need to provide a language proficiency if your university asks for it. And even if it's not written on the embassy, you can state that you can print out an email from university, or you can print out the website from university and provide it at the VFS center and show them that proficiency is not required. They accept it.
I'll just add on to that. So whenever you're applying, I mean, whether it be for the MSc program or for like a visa, I think personally, I feel it's better if you just give the IELTS, because these regulations, they might change at some point, or they might be like, okay, we don't like this document that you're giving. So it's just better to be safe rather than sorry later and just write the IELTS. So then no one can just say, okay, you don't have an English language. We don't know if you can speak English. If you have the IELTS, you're pretty much in the clear. So I think for me personally, I feel it's a good idea to give the IELTS.
All right, thank you. So right now what we'll do is we'll go on with the conclusion, and if anyone else has any doubts and if the speakers have time, they will be here and you can ask the doubts. But right now I'd like to call Avantika to do the word of thanks.
Just a second, I'd just like to add before everyone leaves is that the four of us here have been successful in finding universities, but that doesn't mean that you won't get your fair share of rejections. So it's not that we also got a fair share of rejections, and it's after a lot of rejections that we got a university that we wanted to go to. So even if you get rejections, I don't think you should be intimidated by them, and you just keep applying and you will finally sort of get what you want, what you were looking for.
Yeah, my number is 7 rejects. 7, I think 7, 6, 7.
So Avantika?
Yeah. I can't believe that this amazing session has ended now. To conclude today's talk and knowing the playground, I'd like to thank all the speakers who spared time from the busy schedule to come and share their valuable thoughts. It was truly an unimaginable experience for everyone sitting in the audience. It's only because of your help that now we know how can we shape our future and what amount of preparations we need to do. All of us were those athletes who were pushed into a playground without having any prior knowledge of what we are supposed to do, and then you came in, played the role of our mentor, and told us the strategy of getting through. Honestly, I'm short of words to present my heartfelt gratitude for guiding us. I'm sure we will imbibe this indispensable experience, and your advices would surely enhance our future. I would also like to thank the Department of Physics, St. Xavier's College, and the Society of Physics for organizing such an extraordinary session, and also the audience for making it a success. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks.
To all the audience, yesterday's lecture is already there on YouTube, and today's lecture will be shortly available on YouTube. We weren't able to live stream it due to some technical problems, but then it is recorded and it will be available on YouTube. So thank you. And also the speakers will be sharing the Gmail, like the email IDs with us, and we'll share with you in some time. Thank you so much. And if anyone wants to ask doubts, you can unmute and ask it. So if the speakers are busy, feel free to leave the meeting.
I have to
No,
go.
we'll stay for a while if anybody has questions.
I think Prachi is.
Yeah. Bye, guys. See you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Okay, like I had a question for Aditya. You might know, like it was like a connecting question from last year, last session. So I guess you know the question. Like
I don't quite remember it. Sorry.
Yeah. So sorry.
It was something about biophysics, but I don't quite remember it.
No, not related to biophysics. I asked the speakers yesterday about I don't want to like pursue research. Like I want to do my PhD, but I don't want to dedicate my life to do research. So I want a college which like provides entrepreneurship opportunities also. So like educational and
For the physics and business program. Yes.
Yes.
The one I just continue here. The Leiden University provides this physics and business, chemistry and business and stuff like that. I'm sorry.
I know Chirag had asked the question in Google form. I thought I would share it in the end. I'll share it after.
Yeah. So anyway, sorry for the interruption there. For physics and business programs, what you do is, I think you have 2 years, and the first 1.5 year is for physics, and then 1 semester you do business studies. And in the then you have a sort of a different setup for the number of projects that you have to do in a year. So business would be the last semester, and the third semester you do a project in the specific science field that you're doing. So for physics and business, we would be doing a project in physics for your third semester, and the fourth semester would be business.
Okay, so I'll study physics one semester like less than what I would do if I do it for pure physics, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so can I do like
even one pursue a PhD in physics? Will that be possible after the physics business program?
I'm not sure, but I think you should be able to, because you do the project report that you write is considered as a thesis, so that might also be considered as a master's thesis of physics.
Okay.
But I'm not quite aware of whether you'd be. I think you should be allowed to do a PhD after physics and business program.
I bet you were saying something, right?
Sorry. I think she ran a good question.
Hey, your voice is is breaking.
No, I think she ran a good question.
Yeah, I saw it. I'll answer it first. You check your mic.
So I have a question.
yeah.
So it's regarding if anyone of you know the scope of PhD in dynamical systems in a universities, and if there is any opportunities as well.
Sorry.
Hey, your voice is not still good, Abhay. So PhD in dynamical systems.
Or systems bio.
Oh, systems biology. Yeah, as in if you ask about scope, yeah, there's a lot of scope for it.
As in, is there any good research happening there? And if there is, what are the funding opportunities, if you know?
Yeah. Let's see. So I'm right now working in a group where we work on dynamical systems. I don't know the exact what do you call it, the main concepts that go into system bio. I just hear it a lot, so I just sort of thought it falls somewhere between physics and biology. But when you talk about dynamical systems, what I know is our group has the department is called Department of Epileptology, and we deal with data that we get from epilepsy patients. So now dealing with what do you call it, a time series, which is like the data that you get from epilepsy patients, is what you call it, is right now put under dynamical system analysis. So this is one field that I can introduce you to right now. And what I do is I work on mathematical concepts which can help us deal with dynamical systems as such, where it is generated from such a chaotic system like brain. And what else can I? So this is one example that I can give you. And so now the main reason that we have so much funding here is also because it has medical applications. So that also pushes the field a bit, and that is also the main reason why now the research group has fair enough funding. And also, I can talk then more about neuroscience and how there's a lot of funding in neuroscience. But yeah, that's it. When you talk about dynamical systems, that is how much I know.
Aditya, I have a question. Like, I was going through the Leiden application form, and there was no session to give a recommendation letter. Like, how?
Don't do that. It doesn't mention on the application for some reason, but they do require an LOR, and that was a problem for me because I think 2 or 3 days before the deadline, I had mailed them whether they require an LOR or not, and they just mailed back saying yes, they do.
So how do we send the letter?
I think you'll have to ask the administration there. I don't remember. I think I just mailed them to the administration department.
All right, cool.
With my application number. So.
Also,
but yeah, I should have mentioned that you usually require LORs, and it's probably better to ask whether they require LORs or not, even if they don't mention it on the application.
Also, regarding Bond, Abhilash, can you specify when the deadline for the application is, like in your when you applied?
So I applied for the non-stipend one, right? During my time, it was May 31st, I guess.
Okay, cool. I think the stipend one is in 15 December.
In December. Yeah, right.
You're in the third year, right?
Yeah, I'm in my third year.
So if you want to apply for this for a scholarship in Leiden University, then you would probably have to do this by 1st February. So not a lot of time left.
Yeah, like the 1st February one. I think there was a Lion one and also another one. I forgot the name.
You're more likely to get the Lion one and not the Lexis one. So for some reason, the physics department has a lot of funding, which is not there for biology departments, which is why I got a tuition fee waiver from the department.
Okay,
and
cool.
The Lexis scholarship is very rare because they give it to one student in the whole department. So one physics student gets a Lexis scholarship and the rest of them get a Lion scholarship.
All right. I was looking through the physics and business one, and I was like, when I went through the course, I was a bit skeptical about whether it would actually give me enough physics and enough business courses.
See, as far as credits go, I can tell you that you require 60 credits out of theory and 60 credits out of the projects. Yeah. So I think you can very well complete your your theory credits in the first year itself by taking courses. So once you're done with that, then each year the courses are repeated. So next year you just have to do your thesis. So if you're concerned about whether or not you would get enough physics knowledge, you would. And even if you complete your credits, you're still allowed to sit for courses and just go through them, even without giving an exam. And if you want to give an exam, you give an exam without taking credits.
Also, can we do that? Like, we take 2 years of M.Sc instead of 1.5 years, and then half year of a business.
I'm not really aware of that, but you can extend your master's until you finish it. Not by long, but you can do that. I think a couple of people I know, they're from pure physics, but they extended their master's by another semester or so, I think. But you'll have to give the fee for the whole year. So Leiden is not cheap if you don't get a scholarship. So there's a concern that you don't really want to extend your master's because you'll have to pay tuition for the whole year.
Also, regarding both Bonn and Leiden, as Abhilash mentioned, Bonn's stipend is over, right? And I think the tuition fees for Bonn is less, and whereas in Leiden the tuition fees is there, but then because of the scholarship it might get reduced. But then as we go into the semester, will we have other opportunities for a scholarship?
For physics, I don't know because I never really looked for them because I got a tuition fee waiver before I got enrolled in the university. For biology, one of my friends did try to get one, and there may be options, but I'm not really aware of them.
In Germany, there's this one other scholarship which is given to university students doing masters, but even that is again highly competitive, which is like for any discipline. It's not specific to physics. There is only one scholarship I came across, and also this scholarship is not not for your. It won't cover your expenses completely because, as we mentioned, your expenses will be around 600 euros. And this scholarship sort of gives you 300 euros per month, which means you still have to cover your expenses. And the only advantage in Bonn is that you don't have a tuition fee in the first place. But the way that you can fill your expenses is finding a part-time job, which is what many students do.
So when you mentioned about part-time job, is it possible to get a teaching assistantship or like a part-time job which is related to physics and not like completely away from it?
So those you will get, you will have those after your first year. So in your second year, you can get the job of tutoring someone in subject that you like. But again, these are like you have competition obviously from other students in your course. So you might not get the exact course that you are really interested in. You might get something else. But those options are one possibility. But you need to have good academics again your first year to get this. Outside your education, you can find some part-time job, which I'm doing right now.
Cool.
The TA position in Leiden are usually given, at least for the master courses, are given to the PhD students, because I think in Leiden it is compulsory for the PhD students to take a tutoring course as well. So the subjects that are left are bachelor's, and bachelor's is taught in Dutch. So there are very few opportunities for TA in Leiden.
I heard about these opportunities where people want data analysis assistants, because you have a lot of particle physics data coming out. So if you are into particle physics, you can find those positions.
Or if you are into data analysis also, like that would be helpful, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
So it is a bit towards physics, not far away.
Yeah. Like also jump from, like, they say BSc in like the MSc and the BSc education type in India is very different from that abroad. And was that jump a bit too difficult for you to handle, or was it easy for you to adapt?
Mm-hmm. So for me, at least, I was afraid really that how I'll manage, but with the whole, so in physics, we have this whole assignments, and then you have tutoring sessions and everything, which sort of, with these you'll be able to manage. In the sense, you're not alone in it, right? It's not like you are, a lot of material is thrown onto your face. You have your friends to discuss with, and you have tutoring sessions every week happening where you can talk to a tutor about things that you don't know, things that you know, and how to do things. So over the course, you'll be able to manage. But again, now my aim was not to get into theoretical physics, which is like really, really high end. So I am able to manage. But if you want to go do something there, then it's better to go for 3 semesters, complete your courses in 3 semesters.
I don't think I did face a little bit of a problem, because, as I said, I left mathematics in my second year, and some of the physics courses that I was taking were purely mathematical. So I did face a little bit of a problem, but then again, you're expected to put some effort into understanding what you don't know. And it wouldn't be like they spoon feed you. Of course, help will be given if you ask for it, but you are required to do some self-study on your own. If you have doubts, you can go and ask, but you really have to put in effort to know what you don't, if a course requires it.
Cool. Jay, you had a question, right?
Yeah, like I had a silly question, but yeah, is getting a scholarship for like Leiden or like any university tough, or like a normal, like an average student like me can get it, who's not like very good in academics? But yeah,
this is the internship. Who gets a scholarship and who does not is, I think, a sort of a black box there, because you don't really know how the administration process is thinking. Alexis, I know, is very difficult to get because it's just one student in the whole department. I know a lot of people who've gotten the Lion Scholarship. That's a tuition fee waived off. So I'm not really sure how to answer your question, because you may be an average student in grades, but you may have done great internships. I don't know. So it's really, I got it, and I know a lot of at least 4 or 5 people who've got the Lion Scholarship. So I don't think it's that tough, but I wouldn't be sure on how to answer whether you'd get it or not.
Okay.
Does anyone have any questions?
Srirag had a question for Abhilash, I guess.
Yeah, answered. I answered him personally.
Okay.
No, he didn't. He's lying.
Acha. Should I ask it?
Yeah, Bilash, we need to know that. That's important for them.
Yeah, repeat the question again.
Like, is it beneficial to know traffic rules to, like, in countries like Germany when you go there?
Yeah, if you wanna come and die here, if you are searching for a suicide spot, then the highways are like very good spot for you to come.
Also, guys who are present here, Srirag was CP of Society of Physics and Abhilash was the editorial head of the Society of Physics. Aditya, were you a part of the society? Like, were you a member of the society?
Not officially, but I did help around.
Yeah. So,
unofficial.
2018, right?
2018-19, yeah.
Yeah.
You were in first year then.
Yeah, I was in first year. I was a part of the editorial team. And also the founder
You are doing amazing.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, we have a lot of things coming up. We have a lot of lectures planned up. Some are really exciting. So please stay in touch. And the podcast dropped today. Listen to that. It's pretty interesting. And yeah, so our website is pretty active now. Our Instagram is also really active now. So go through the website articles. We have people from even 10th standard, FY, SY, TY, MSCs writing articles. So
I'm not trying to discourage here or anything, but क्यों 10th वाले से तुझे black hole पे कार में क्यों लिखाना है?
Actually, don't know English. I can't understand.
Actually,
I'll leave now. I'm sorry, but I'll leave now. If there are any questions, ask them to email me on my Zebras ID.
Hey, this part you're going to trim, right? This is not part of session, so you need not to put this on YouTube.
Yeah, it's not. We stop the recording. Also, one more thing I wanted to mention. So, in the website, there's an option where you can form an account with us. So, like the people.
Yeah, I checked that.
Yeah, so do form an account there too. So you'll get daily updates about what is happening there on your Gmail. Cool. So I guess everything's done. So we can close the session.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So,
thanks for having us. Bye.
Bye.
Nice job.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.